Roughly 8 out of every 10 K-pop songs that you've heard started life as a demo written in English by a songwriter whose name you'll never see, and quite often sitting in a room somewhere thousands of miles from Seoul. For a few years, every now and then, that was me, and the way it actually works is almost nothing like what people imagine. There's no secret handshake, but there's also no magic. So I want to give you an honest map because I really wish someone had drawn this for me. I'm Mike. I've been lucky enough to have songs cut by artists in the Korean, Japanese and Chinese pop worlds. And I say lucky, and I do mean that. There is a lot of luck in this, but there's also a process, and the process is learnable. So let me walk you through it stage by stage, the way it really happens. It starts with something called a brief. A label is developing an artist or a comeback, and they send out a request through publishers and trusted writer networks for songs that fit a very specific picture. And I do mean specific, not we want a pop song. It's more like, this is the tempo we want, this is the energy, here's the concept, this is the kind of attitude. We want something for a girl group with this vibe, and here's a reference track that's in the ballpark. Now, these songs aren't usually plucked out of the air. There's a target, and the writer who gets cuts are the one who actually writes to the brief instead of submitting their favourite song and hoping it fits. Your masterpiece is useless if it's answering a question nobody asked. Stage 2, writing to the brief. So now you're writing, and this is where the craft gets genuinely different from Western pop. 2 rules got hammered into me fast. First, every 4 bars has to be a moment. There's no coasting, there's no section that just gets you to the next bit. Each chunk earns its place, and it's really important to remember that you need to keep it interesting throughout. Second, and this is the one that took me longest, in that world, more is more. So where a Western pop song might leave space, here you often fill it. Now, there's a saying that I love: there can be no awkward silences. Every gap is a chance to give the listener one more thing to grab onto. What I will say on this is that as the years have gone by with the K-pop market, there's always been a leaning towards the American industry and the Western music market in terms of styles. And it's really important to read the brief, back to stage 1 again, to look at the brief and to sort of say, is that what they want? Because there are more instances now than ever of K-pop artists and labels and management and publishing companies looking for something that is more Western, which might mean that you go a more traditional Western route of writing, but it's still not quite the same. And it is intense. The first few times it nearly broke my brain. It made me a sharper writer everywhere else because it killed my habit of leaving filler in a song and hoping nobody noticed. Stage 3, the demo itself. Then you record the demo, and here's a hard truth that will save you a lot of heartbreak. The person on the other end is listening to dozens of these, sometimes hundreds, in a sitting. If your demo doesn't land in the first 10, 15 seconds, then they're on to the next one. Not because they're cruel, but because they physically can't get through the pile otherwise. Let me tell you about my background. I spent 20 years working in radio. I still do. And one of the shows that I presented for about 7 years was a new music show. And I gave each song probably 20 seconds at most, but quite often 10 seconds, because you wouldn't have time to listen to them otherwise, and it had to catch you. I also worked as a publisher. I ran a publishing company for 5 years, and we would get demos in all the time. And it's the same process. You just can't give it the time that you want unless it's got your ear, and then you get more time. So the demo has to sound finished. Doesn't always have to be perfect, but it does need to feel like a final release. The vocal especially has to sell the feeling. The production has to suggest the record it could become. And I would say even more than that, I think the production has to feel like it could go out as it is. But it's maybe got a little more to go if the label want that to happen. But it should be very, very close, because quite often they will use your production or your team's production. A brilliant song in a rough, half-mumbled demo will lose to a good song in a confident, vivid one. That felt unfair to me at first, but now it's just the job. You're not only writing the song, you're showing them the movie of it. Stage 4, holds, cuts, and translations. Let's say they like it. What happens next? Well, what happens next surprised me the first time, because the first thing that you might find is that you get a hold if they're interested. That keeps it in the running. It doesn't promise anything else, but it promises that you're in the running, but you can't promise it elsewhere. A hold is not a cut. I've had holds that went quiet for months and then suddenly came alive. I've had holds that were on hold for a very long time and came to nothing, and others that went through to a final cut very quickly. You learn to celebrate quietly and carry on writing. Then, if it's actually chosen, Your English lyric quite often isn't the final lyric. They bring in a local lyricist. In Japan, it's a Japanese lyricist. In Korea, a Korean lyricist. They do take a percentage for that as well. So that's something to bear in mind. Sometimes, though, your song can be released fully in English. I did a song with a Korean boy band last year, and the whole song was in English. In fact, twice that's happened now in the last year. So the Korean or Japanese lyricist will come in and rewrite the words in their language so they rhyme, flow, and feel right to the artist and the audience. And they do earn a credit for that, which is absolutely the right thing. And I would say as well, that doesn't mean you shouldn't focus on your lyric and your concept, because quite often they will keep the concept. They might keep the chorus in English and the rest in Korean, for example. So it's very important that you do think about what you're doing with your concept. This was a real ego adjustment to me, because you pour yourself into the lyric and then most of the words change, but your melody, your structure, and your moments, that's what got the song chosen, and that's what survives, along with the concept. And I think the concept is really important, because if they've asked for a concept or a style or something that draws their attention in, that is as important as anything else. But once I understood that melody was extremely important and the flow was the most important part, then it stopped stinging so much, and it started being kind of a nice thing to hear a song that you've written being built by people on the opposite side of the planet who you'll never meet probably, and then hearing how it sounds in that language. It's quite amazing, really. Stage 5. The publishing reality. This is the bit that people don't talk about, and I'd be doing you a massive disservice if I skipped it, because it's really important. To get a song into these markets, you usually give up a good chunk of your publishing along the way to local writers, like I mentioned, your Japanese translator, to the structure of the deal. Sometimes there are things in there that aren't standard in the West, but are more standard in Asia. Sometimes it's a meaningful share, and writers still queue to do it for 2 reasons. They still want to do it, even though they might give up quite a bit of their share. 1, craft makes you better, makes you a better writer. 2, this is the practical part. In Korea and Japan, people still buy music. Physical albums, like proper, actual, hold in your hand CDs. So the publishing on a real hit there could be unlike anything in a streaming-only Western market. I'm not telling you that to dangle the money in front of you. That isn't the case. I'm telling you because if you go in expecting to keep everything, then you'll be hurt, you'll be confused, and it'll probably put you off within minutes. Go in understanding the trade, and it can be one of the best decisions a writer makes. So if some part of you wants to write for this world, here's what I'd honestly take from all of it. Number 1, write to the brief, not to your ego. Find the target, then hit it. The most talented writer in the room loses to the one who answered the actual question. 2, make every 4 bars a moment. Even if you never write a single K-pop song, this will make everything you write tighter, and it will cut your filler. 3, demo like it's already the record. Make them hear the finished thing in the first 15 seconds. Get them early, make sure it sounds professional, and pitch it when you feel that you would pick it if you were the label involved. None of this happens without relationships. Publishers, other writers, collaborators, people who think of you in a brief lands, which honestly is just be good, be kind, be easy to work with, and keep showing up. That is the whole secret. Now, I could talk about this for hours, so tell me in the comments which stage you want me to go deeper on, the briefs, the demos, the money, any of it, and I'll make that the next one. And if you'd like to be in a room with other writers chasing this kind of thing, I run a free community called The Craft House. It's genuinely free, no pitch, it's just a free community. The link's below. You can come and say hi if you fancy it. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. It means more than you know that you'd want to hear how this actually works. I will see you in the next video.